Nowhere else in the world I've seen anything like this. Saudi is humongous. You want to actually make money. Number one thing in making money in Saudi, you need a collection built for Saudis, product.
Welcome to Retail Power Talks. Today I'm joined by Lina Gallagher, the founder and managing director of Emerce Consulting. Lina is an expert in e-commerce, digital transformation, and retail strategy with a strong focus on MENA and GCC region. She works closely with businesses to enhance their online presence, streamline operations, and leverage data-driven insights to drive growth. Lina, welcome to the show.
Hello. Thank you for the invite.
So let's start with your journey. Can you give us a brief overview of your business and your experience helping brands grow digitally across the MENA region?
So hello everyone. Thank you for having me on this podcast. A bit about me. I've been in digital for the last 20 years. Journey started when I was 13. Now I'm a bit older than 13. I built a number of e-commerce ventures myself, then was lucky to sell them. Then end up studying e-commerce at Liverpool University. Fast forward a few years, ended up at Deloitte Consulting London, doing all the digital transformation and launching e-commerce and omnichannel for the largest retailers, brands, distributors, across different verticals like grocery, luxury, beauty, fashion, electronics, you name it, across the world. And then came to the UAE 12 years ago, and UAE was not really online yet, so it was very similar to when I started my career in London. Over here to 12 years ago, online was kind of non-existing, so all the retail was still predominantly offline and in the malls. So I launched, I started as a solo entrepreneur and had an opportunity to consult leading regional brands on their digital journey. And now I have a company of quite a few employees called Emerce Consulting. And what we do, we basically help to launch, whether you are small, large, enterprise level, and what I mean by launch digital channel, we take care of everything from strategy to budgeting to product merchandising, technology, operations. Pretty much we launch you the completely brand new P&L channel, okay? We also consult the brands when they're trying to grow the digital sales. So I'm sure you hear like in the news, digital ads getting more and more expensive. Retailers and distributors and brands want profitability. So how do you get there, right? You might be having good online sales, but maybe you are breaking even or maybe not even yet. So the team also helps you not just launch, but also grow, scale, conquer new markets. And we also co-invest with small startups where we become as a co-founder for this sweat equity. They get all my team's expertise and my 20 sort of years of expertise free of charge. So three different verticals that's under Emerce. In addition, I have Ecom Wave, which is completely focused on the startups. It's a digital e-commerce academy where you buy digital courses. So if you cannot technically afford my consultancy from Emerce, or you shouldn't waste money as a startup on kind of fancy consultants. So I have an Ecom Wave. It's for businesses that are starting or scaling and want to learn e-commerce. So in the form of a digital learning. I have a book called Winning in the Platform Economy. It is on Amazon. So for anyone interested in GCC, it's a great book. But also your listeners can reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'll send them digital copy free of charge, no issues. So quite a few things, but all under the same umbrella of e-commerce.
Well, that sounds quite a dynamic journey. I mean, you've clearly seen the evolution of market firsthand. So you've worked with many brands, looking to enter Saudi market. For companies that want to succeed in Saudi Arabia, what do they need to know before launching? What makes this market unique?
So great question. Number one, what they need to know that what works in London, Paris, New York, or or Bangalore or Shanghai is not going to work in Saudi market. You absolutely cannot copy paste. And I know you probably hear that a lot of times, but Saudi consumers are different, okay? They do expect Arabic language first. So, you doing Google translation is not gonna cut it. You absolutely need to invest in that. Secondly, they expect merchandising of the website or the app. What I mean by merchandising, images, descriptions, a lifestyle shots to represent the Arabic culture, right? To represent the family, to represent, so, like I always laugh, I give an example, putting a blonde model with blonde hair inside, it's not gonna resonate. It's not gonna resonate. Even if that product is great, it's not gonna resonate. So if you think that Saudi market I'm entering Saudi market because I want to make millions, think again, it's hard work and you have to adopt the language. Secondly, merchandising, so there are brands that bring like snow in the pictures. I'm like, where do you see snow in Saudi Arabia, right? So really simple things like that is important. Thirdly, marketing. Especially for the Western brands, marketing still is, emails, SMS, paid media like Google ads, Meta ads. In Saudi Arabia, if you don't do WhatsApp marketing, and I'm not talking about WhatsApp messaging, I'm talking about WhatsApp marketing as a channel that has a button saying shop now, the button saying, claim the offer. So it's like, very personalized shopping assistant. So for the brands that are coming from other parts of the world outside of the GCC, WhatsApp marketing is absolutely must. And if you don't do it, you actually remain irrelevant. Consumer will not find out. You can be sending as many emails as you want. It's not gonna work it. And then finally on Saudi, you need to acknowledge that Saudi is humongous, okay? So Jeddah and Riyadh, very different. Just because things work in Riyadh does not mean it will work in Jeddah. So I really encourage you, all the brands that are looking to enter the market, really go yourself and spend a week in it. Go to the local malls, go to local coffee shops, see how consumers, they're very family oriented. It's like a large gatherings. They love, they love that connection of that pushing really values, we sometimes in Europe already forget, the family values and all of that.
Yeah.
But Saudi market is still very close on the family values, on respect. So your website or the app really needs to kind of take that into the account, and if the range of products you want to sell does not reflect those values, don't bring those products. I know that we all want to sell everything to everyone, but start with what I say, safe bet, safe product range that would be maybe relevant to Jeddah and Riyadh consumer, but cannot stretch enough how important is to go yourself for at least a week and visit the local sort of, just to see how they shop in the supermarket, because it is very different. You will see what they're putting in the trolleys. And so if they shop differently on groceries, believe me, when it comes to fashion, beauty, and luxury, it's also very different.
Yeah, it's fascinating how nuanced and layered the Saudi market can be. So if you talk about personalization, how important is personalization in Saudi Arabia, and how does it differ from personalization strategies used in the Western markets?
Yeah. Also, personalization in the Western market, it's kind of based on automation. We have a lot of technologies that can segment, that can automate the messages and so on. And look, all of that is needed when it's you have a large database and etc. However, in Saudi, what you need to remember, personalization go way beyond the person that gets the message, right? So whether you are sending a WhatsApp, whether you're sending SMS, whether you are targeting the paid ad, whatever you are showing to Lina is gonna probably have 5 coffees with her sisters-in-law, mother-in-law, cousins, aunties, and Lina would talk what she got today for the rest of the week with everyone she meets, right? So when you think of personalization, first of all, you really need to think, what are you sending to Lina as a personalization message, right? So if that's in any way if whatever you put in that message, if that's sort of like a taboo topic or like really controversial, message, then you will not achieve that word of mouth communication, right? Because Lina would be like, no, I don't, like, why are you even sending me this, right? So you really need to think that personalization in Saudi means that Lina will talk about your brand or about whatever you sent to her about 20 times this week, right? With everyone she meets. Now, in the Western world, like very rarely we would discuss what we received on a WhatsApp, like while we're having coffee with friends. And also, we don't have that many coffees with friends, like I see my sister once a month sort of thing, like I don't see my sister every single week. While in Saudi culture, they do see each other like every single week, right? So that's one thing. Second thing, Saudis on a personalization, as much as technology is important, but it's not about for Saudis the technology yet. If you keep up with TikTok trends, like now, for example, this Labubu doll, it's absolutely every single brand is doing it, something with it. If you don't keep up with that trend, you are not relevant. And for the Saudis, that means you're not personalized, right? It's not so much as of kind of like using technology to widespread the message. It's more about what is the message. Is it worth talking about it? Is it relevant to what currently is trending on the TikTok, right? And then thirdly, coming to the technology is really, really segmenting it. So I can't stretch it enough for you. I have brands, okay, where one side of Riyadh, so it's the same store, it's the same brand, same assortment, same city even, right? In one side of Riyadh, I have completely different assortment than in the other side of Riyadh, because the consumer, is completely different. Whether it's their demographics, so like maybe Saudis from certain region in Saudi Arabia, or Jordanians, Egyptian, maybe from India, Sri Lanka, Pakistan, right? And then you have other side of the, so demographics. I have it could also be male versus female. Like in some of the stores, I have all predominantly 90% female, and the other side is 90% men. And it's the same brand, and you will be like, wow, so you are selling the same product. And so nowhere else in the world I've seen anything like this, where we have to rethink of the assortment within the same city at such a granular level. Okay, so what does that mean when it comes to personalization? Is that when you bombard them with notifications, WhatsApp messages, emails, like you can't just say, okay, for Riyadh we're doing message A. No, because even if your assortment, if they live in a certain complex in Riyadh, that message might not resonate. And even if it resonates, right, there might not be a product in that store available, because like the sales of the products varies based on where in Riyadh the product is, the store is based, right? And then imagine if it's different within Riyadh, how different is Riyadh to Jeddah? Completely again, the whole story change. So that's where you really need that technology, because you first of all, obviously, like anything, technology is just 20%, 80% is all execution and thinking about it. So if you start seeing these trends, and that maybe now you, like as we speak, you now kind of get it why clients like end up working with me, in a sense that, you first of all need to challenge, like, what do we see from this data? And then say, okay, now we need technology to distribute the message for this area 1, for this area 2, for this area 3. So we need to write these 3 messages. We need to segment the consumer, so it becomes quite, even if after you identify that consumer is different and you do want to provide that personalized experience, you kind of need to think of, can I physically write 3 different messages to these consumers? See what I'm saying? So it's quite unique.
That's really an interesting take on personalization. So when it comes to choosing the right digital platforms, like you talked about WhatsApp and emailing, what do Saudis lean more toward? Or is that also different for different regions?
Well, first of all, we love the brands, like anything in this region, and not specific just to Saudis. UAE is exactly the same here.
Uh-huh.
We love all the Salesforce, Adobe, Shopify, X, Y, and Z, right? But
Yeah.
loving it and being able to afford it is two different stories here, okay? What we're trying sometimes to buy, we're trying to go for Ferrari, okay? But what we need to remember, most of us starting e-commerce or digital or going online in terms of the platforms, it's our first rodeo. Like we haven't, if you think about in America, you would meet it's very rare you would meet someone, a person in digital space, and they will say to you, it's my first e-commerce. You would look like, what? While in here, in this part of the world, it's still, you would meet like, Lina, Zeenish, like what, and everyone will be like, oh, it's my first time doing it. I haven't done this in my previous job. It's my first time doing it. So I think because it's like sort of a lot of times green projects, we tend to go for the market leaders when it comes to like, kind of, we're trying to play safe, you know what I mean? But what happens is that when you go for the market leaders, sometimes you learn the hard way that the revenue you generate on these channels don't match the license fees that you're paying, okay? So sometimes what can happen also is that we buy a Ferrari, but we can't afford drivers, you know what I mean? Like, so it's like a Formula One, and then can you afford Schumacher? Maybe not, and this is where the issue is. So for the people that are doing second or third time, they're being very cautious, okay? And that leads to quite fragmented platform market, because you will have leaders that actually trying to build their own, even though it's not what I would recommend. I tell retailers all the time, focus on what you are good at. You are good at bringing brands into the region, selling them through physical stores, leave digital to people that have been doing this for years and years, you know what I mean? So like don't waste money on building your own tech. But we still have clients that do build their own tech. So they, as I'm saying, like it's quite fragmented. Then we have quite a big Saudi-based platform market. So there are a lot of like players, like we have Saudi equivalent of Shopify. We have Saudi equivalent of email, like, Klaviyo and so on. We have Saudi equivalent of Salesforce. We have Saudi, so we kind of have, like how Amazon has equivalent of in every single country, we have technically another Amazon. It's the same in Saudi. In a tech ecosystem, you have Zoho equivalent of CRM. You have, like every platform that exists, you have equivalent. I wouldn't call it copy because these local platforms, they really do integrate a lot of like if you work with a local platform, you don't need to discuss delivery options. It's like automatic by default, like whatever works in the region is already there, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
While on a global ecosystem. But where is the main challenge is that whenever you go for the local platform, it's super hard to find people to kind of, manage these platforms. If you want, to customize it, it's very difficult. So, there is a pros and a cons. Yes, maybe they are cheaper and a good alternative to the global leaders, because you have local support teams, they all speak Arabic, the salesperson is just down the road, you can, so definitely a lot of benefits. But the disadvantage of that is that, remember, is that when you start scaling your digital e-commerce, you will need to grow your team as well as a retailer, right? So because your platform is not global leader, you are struggling to find who's gonna use it. You are struggling to find like, oh, I need to change this. Then if you go to UAE, like let's say you're expanding Saudi to the UAE, again, you're like, okay, well, I cannot expand because that platform doesn't work in the UAE. So what do you do next? So it really does, you really need to start from the drawing board, not like thinking the cheapest or the leader, but really identifying what we're trying to do here. And maybe sometimes like with some of my clients, I, for example, say, okay, this will last 3 years. We will test the market, we will grow, we will save a lot of money, we'll invest that money in marketing. But after 3 years, like, as Arab says, khalas, we need to really rethink and maybe go for the leaders. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm always trying to play the balance between the cost and, the functionality that would last us longer than 12 months. So this is how it's doing on the platforms.
That's really interesting. If I am a brand looking to launch in Saudi Arabia, what are the must-do steps? Not just to launch, but to scale and make money. How should I sell effectively in this region?
Yeah. So let's start from, let's assume you launched and all of this, you want to actually make money. Number one thing in making money in Saudi, you need a collection built for Saudis, product, right? So the product has, whether it's the Ramadan specific edition, whether it's the, if you're selling, let's say now I'm wearing a blouse, but you then start watching abayas, okay? Whether it's a loungewear, they are incredible when it comes to nightgowns, the abayas, and look, for someone like you and me, maybe it is weird. You're like, well, where do we begin even designing this, And the answer is, I don't know where we begin. The answer to that is you partner with local designers, because you cannot start, I can start designing, headscarves when I'm not wearing myself a headscarf, it's gonna flop, So
definitely.
As much as you wanna, so product and really targeting Saudi consumer needs is what makes the brand successful in the region, in Saudi Arabia. That's why if you look around a lot of global brands, not many, I can only count 5, can claim success in Saudi Arabia. Not many, and I'm talking global fashion leading brands, luxury leading brands. They cannot claim success in Saudi because what they're trying to do, they're trying to push the assortment that works, even that it works in the UAE, onto Saudi market. That's not the case. Saudis do not like, that you think, you're just coming for just to get their money. They do want you to see taking care of the market seriously, so meaning from the product range seriously, from local photo shoots seriously, from actually opening a store, in the largest malls. Now you might say, I don't have money for stores. Fair point. If you don't have money for stores, think about pop-ups. Think about shop-in-shops. Like there's the department store, you could open just a corner, But honestly, being present, the brands that succeed there take care of Saudi market, not because Saudi market has gazillion people and therefore they're like, oh, on the P&L, I'm sitting somewhere in Los Angeles. On the P&L, it makes sense that I need to target. When people tell me this, I said, you might as well go to Africa also. Like, why not going to Africa? It's also like a lot of people. You go like China, go to India, why not going? But because we are a lot more aware of Chinese nuances, like a lot of brands burn, so they're not so rushing to China. A lot of brands, in India, why are they not going? Because they're like, they don't know how to convince Indian consumer, Saudis are the same. They are really, really have unique shopping habits. So go yourself as a founder, walk around, as I said, malls, go onto their marketplaces. You don't even need to, I could sit in the desk on my chair now. You can go to Saudi Noon, Saudi Amazon, go and check Saudi fashion designers, right? Go on Saudi Carrefour website, go on Saudi, Hunger Station, go on Saudi Duals application. You will start seeing it that what works in the rest of the world and even in the GCC outside of Saudi does not work in Saudi. They are very, very particular. So that's why, I said product ranges one, second, this local photo shoot, local marketing initiative, maybe pop-ups, maybe collaboration with local influencers. This influencer does not need to have million followers. This influencer could be 10,000 followers, but if local tribe, what they say, loves Lina, as influencer, then believe you will establish yourself. You need to acknowledge that they celebrate Eid. You need to acknowledge that they celebrate Ramadan. What's your, as a brand, takes on Ramadan? Are you having Ramadan gifting? Are you having Ramadan collection? what are you doing here, because I can tell you, in the UK everyone is doing something for Boxing Day. So any retailer that is like in the UK market, like second day of Christmas, there's not even a question that we will do something special. So this is the same, this is not about saying, in London we're doing Christmas sales, let's do Christmas sales in Saudi on the 25th of December. And people be like, what are they up to, so this is ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, the competition is quite fierce, and that's where understanding performance becomes vital. So data is central to performance. We know that. What are the KPIs that you track typically with your clients? Like, what's considered a healthy conversion rate or acquisition rate in the Saudi context?
Yeah, so depending on the industry, so luxury conversion rate at the moment is between 0.5 to 0.8. Okay, that's in luxury. When it comes to grocery, so the other spectrum, where we pretty much shop every single week, when it comes on digital channels, we are sort of maneuvering between 1.9 to like 2% to 3.5% conversion rate. I have obviously clients in the niche industries, we even 4.5, even reaches 5%, but that's not the benchmark, like the benchmark in fashion, if you talk like fast fashion, similar to beauty, similar to skincare, it's at the moment around 1.5. It could reach to 1.8, but very, very rarely cross 2%, when it comes to conversion rate. Now, when it comes to the acquisition cost, unfortunately for everyone, acquisition cost in Saudi market is one of the highest in the world, okay? Not just because we are doing everything wrong, but because Saudi consumers are very digitally savvy, okay? So like, for example, YouTube, like Saudi Arabia is #1 in the world on YouTube daily watch time, okay? So the most of the YouTube videos that, if you would sum up the hours, the largest number of hours of watched videos in a day is in Saudi Arabia, not America, not Europe, not let's say India, not UAE, but Saudi Arabia. Okay, so Saudi consumers are very, very digitally savvy. Secondly, they all kind of have like 2 to 3 phones and so on and so forth. What does that mean? That all the brands are trying to capture that digital consumer through paid ads. Okay, in the markets where acquisition cost is cheaper is mainly. So like, for example, how would you promote product to your mom? Well, putting loads of meta ads not gonna do the trick, because maybe your mom is not even on Instagram. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So then brands are forced to think of maybe creative ways to do it, maybe a lot more organic thing, maybe word of mouth, maybe they're doing a lot of offers, to get the consumer. But in Saudi, because everyone is on Snapchat, on TikTok, on Instagram, on Facebook, because they are all on it, the brands are choosing the easiest option of acquiring the consumer through paid ad. You get me? So then we're not thinking of alternative solutions. And to be honest, I'm not even sure what are the alternative solutions in Saudi Arabia. We are all going after the ads, so paid advertisement. So imagine if 5-star hotels, all the airlines, all the restaurants, and all the retail is going after the same Lina, right?
Yeah.
Just imagine how expensive is that slot on Lina's Instagram. You understand? So like, as Instagram, you cannot show me 100 ads. Like, you just cannot, right? So that means you show me a person ad, person ad. So these 2 ads maybe have 1,000 bidders, maybe 10,000 bidders, maybe 1,000,000 bidders. So like in any auction, if the supply is larger than demand, we naturally infiltrate the cost of acquisition, right? The slot on Lina's Instagram becomes not even guaranteed that Lina would buy it, but just to show the ad to Lina becomes a lot more expensive than anywhere else in the world. Like, so for example, I'm Lithuanian. So in Lithuania, like in one city, maybe you have like 2 Michelin star restaurants, you know? It's a small country. So, you know, restaurant will not go after Lina. Hotels, maybe there's like few hotels, you know, they're not, you get what I'm saying? So that I'm not, so then who goes after Lina's Instagram in Lithuania? Maybe retailers. So, but maybe we have only 15, 20 retailers, do you know what I mean? So because of that, the supply is there, but it's not like every single mall, restaurant, coffee shop, insurance, event, like it's so much supply on the ads. And it's because all the businesses in Saudi know that that's the easiest and the fastest way to achieve consumers, you know? So, you know, we are not even, like we're definitely investing in PR and organic, but those channels are not as effective. So do you know what I mean? So the brands that basically the strongest survive. And how do they survive? By, you know, like kind of outbidding the small ones.
Wow, I mean, that's super helpful information for any brand trying to benchmark their efforts. Now let's look ahead a bit. The region is changing fast with Saudi Arabia's Vision 2030 like in full swing. How do you see the future of retail and e-commerce evolving in the region?
So I think we will approach from a number of things. One thing that if I would have to predict the trends, and you know, like it's hard to predict the trends because you know, things change overnight here in this region, but I predict that for the first time ever in in history, Middle East retailers will lead AI, sort of AI, agentic AI. So what does that mean? Because of all the AI companies looking into the region, like whether they are opening entities, whether they're investing it, whether they're just doing a PR and talking about it, but reality is that with very young generation, they are all very tech savvy. They are all, you know, like in Europe, we are still debating on regulation, what to do with ChatGPT. While here, everyone is using it already, do you know what I mean? So what does that mean? You will start seeing a lot of the Saudi-born businesses that will do something with AI, okay? So now how is that related to e-commerce and retail? Well, unfortunately, in the current age, if you want to succeed as an AI business, you need to train those machines using loads and loads of data. There is no one better than understanding the shopping habits, consumer habits, than retailers. So retailers, now don't get me wrong, majority of us, not just Saudi, GCC in general, and Europe and America, I work with a lot of clients across the globe. We are sitting on the gold mine when it comes to data, but we're not doing much now. So we are still sitting on it, but we will be forced to do something about it. And you will start seeing it, that what now sounds like, you know, brands will say, oh, I don't know the answer. I need to go to ask my finance guy, my marketing guy, blah, blah, blah. We will start having it brand specific ChatGPT where we can ask anything. So like, how many, like, you know, as Lina, I will be sitting, let's say I'm just a customer service agent in a brand. I will say, how many, like, I don't know, cans of milk we sold in this specific Jeddah store yesterday. You know what I mean? And I will be able to get the answer, you know? So what we will see, and this, what's gonna really penetrate, like we are gonna test a lot faster than the Western world. We are gonna really invest in a young talent, and that means that we will have a new wave of agents, you know, who are not humans. And I'm not talking about like anyone will take anyone's job, you know, it's not, you know, like this is just PR, blah, blah. But these agents will be able to operate autonomously, if you like, without like a human supervision, because they will be able to make basically decisions because they will be sitting on that piles of data. And I think because the region is so pro-innovation, you will see whether this government will push or these large corporations that are entering, because it's a lot easier for them to establish the entities, you know, like use this data, train the algorithms, you know, like in Europe, you just try to use someone's data for anything, you know, like it will be like a PR disaster, that company is like, oh my God, you know, get me out of it. While here, you know, we will really make huge progress. So my prediction is that in the next 12 to 24 months, we will really start seeing retailers, like employees in business, coexisting with these, let's say, not robots, but these AI agents that are not like a ChatGPT ask the question, but can do things for us, right? Can schedule that personalized message, can restock the shelf, can answer customers' query to say, like, does this product have nuts, So that's what I am the most excited about. I'm doing a lot of work in it, and I can tell you it's moving at incredible pace. So that's one. Secondly, we will start seeing it when we're already seeing it. So for the, COVID kind of made everyone grow the business like crazy. But in the last already 12 months, a lot of brands on retail side start rethinking where they come from, what's their roots, rethinking, the importance of profitability, right? So the rethinking, like, do we go for IPO? Do we go, because there are a lot of families still based, they are conglomerates, but they are family based. So at what point exit? At what point you cash out, right? So the best way to cash out if you're a large enterprise is IPO, or other way, start making big bucks on profits. So we will really start seeing it, transformations within the companies. I think the innovation side will slow down, but what it will we will start questioning ourselves a lot more. Do we really need this warehouse? Do we really need this Ferrari when it comes to technology? Do we need the 50 people team, to do the ABC for this revenue? So I really think that will be it's already started, and it will continue definitely for at least 2 to 3 years now when it comes to transformation, on seeing it where profitable, not just top line growth, but actually bottom line, healthy bottom line. And I think, what would that mean is that some of the brands will stop growing. They will say, like, I don't need to expand to Jeddah, I don't need to expand to UAE, I don't need to do like X, Y, and Z, because I'm very happy what I'm doing here. Okay? Yeah. So it would lead that. Some of the brands will cut some of the unnecessary, like, I now do women, men, and kids. Maybe I'll stop doing women, maybe I'll stop doing kids, maybe I'll stop doing men, like, we will start revisiting. So this will be, like, if you like, organizational transformation, but completely driven by profitability things, because with all the tariffs, with all that global pressure, the supply chain up pricing, what you need to remember, most of the products getting imported into the country, right? Margins is going lower and lower and lower, and you cannot pass that cost onto consumers. So as you cannot pass the cost onto the consumer, who is covering the cost? If now the freight is costing from America double what it cost a couple of years ago, you know what I mean? So that's the second prediction, that I think we will really start optimizing ourselves, and in a way that AI will definitely help, not maybe we will build human robots, but maybe we will put technologies that are not necessarily doing job on our behalf, but the technology that has A plus AI. So, it kind of like that one person can handle two jobs rather than having two people, So that's my second prediction. And the third is more around, I think about business models in general. So quick commerce is gonna grow, and it's growing significantly, but it's gonna continue growing like double the fold completely. What would that lead is that we might see some consolidation when it comes to these global quick commerce players, because how many more we can absorb in Saudi market. But that whole concept is 100% gonna continue growing it, right? That concept will, and it's all kind of gonna again make everyone rethink, like, what product range I put on quick commerce players. Like, I don't need to put my 10,000 SKUs maybe on it. How important is convenience element in it, right? So quick commerce is definitely up there to grow. Direct to consumer, like your own website, I think will be stable. So, and I would even recommend brands that I work with say, like, listen, we don't need to create ourselves double growth on direct to consumer, like, our own website, and then throw all that money that we generate onto Meta ads. Do you know what I mean? Maybe we should slow down the growth and actually just look at how can we optimize that new customer acquisition cost, right? But some of the brands, promise to investors, some of the brands need to raise money. So of course, there are nuances, but I think direct to consumer is definitely not gonna go like double digits, like definitely not. I think the brands should focus on keeping the lights on and really trying to focus on how do you optimize the acquisition of the new customers. And then when it comes to retail, I think like offline, I think we will start seeing a lot more this. I know that omni-channel is such a cliche, and I'm the first to say, like, my goodness, when are we gonna stop using this word? But no kidding you, in the Middle East across, I only know 3 brands that are truly doing omni-channel. Truly. That you are saying you omni-channel because you are in store, the customer can be recognized by the phone number. That's not omni-channel. Omni-channel is actually fulfilling from stores, doing click and collect from stores, not your warehouse that delivers to your store and therefore customer comes in store. That's not omni-channel. Actually, I'm understanding that maybe this customer should be top acquired through digital, right? But actually the purchase should be made in store. Returns, kind of 360, view, communication 360 view. So e-commerce leaders should know that Lina also came to Riyadh Mall store yesterday. At the moment, that's all like delusional, So I really think that the brands will go back to the drawing boards, kind of saying that in the retail side, they'll say, okay, we cannot close e-commerce because, so what can we do in addition to revenue generation? Can we use e-commerce endless aisle where we can test some products and before we bring to the store? Can we make sure that the brands actually, like Jeddah versus Riyadh, where is, because it's the easiest to test on e-commerce before you ship the whole assortment into that specific store. So I think the brands would start thinking it more wider rather than silos. Oh, this is what I deliver on Deliveroo. Oh, this is my own e-commerce. Oh, this is what the store has done. So at the moment we're at this phase, but definitely in or at least I'm hoping it. Out of 3 predictions I gave you, this is the least I'm confident about, but I'm definitely pushing a lot conversation in that direction.
Yeah, well, those were great insights. I mean, it's always helpful to hear what actually works on ground. So thank you, Lina, for joining me today. It has been a great conversation with you. And of course, it was very informational. Thank you. And to the listeners, see you next time.